blindingly obvious, but if you say it in a highfalutin way, maybe it sounds like it's profound, but maybe not. In any case, if you just fly over the history of civilization at 10,000 feet, you see the out-migration of Homo sapiens sapiens from Africa in our more or less our modern form, sometime over 100,000 years ago, and the geneticists that count the genetic clocks backward to find the mutations that conferred the capacity for complex speech locate the evolution of the brain that made complex speech possible in roughly the same time frame as the period in which our ancient ancestors moved out of Africa into the Eurasian landmass, which was already populated by previous earlier forms of humanoids. Now I know this is, I'm always a little reluctant to get into this because we had a trial here in Tennessee some years back. We lost, but we've been trying to recover since then. But in other words, the single most important evolutionary migration may well have been connected with a new capacity for complex communication. And one can imagine, without any hope of ever finding historical support or evidence to support this hypothesis, that the ability for an individual or a small group of individuals to go out and explore and come back and say, here's what's over the next hill, and the next one after that, and the next one after that, empowered a group decision to say, okay, let's pull up stakes and try to move on to greener pastures, so to speak. The stunning advances in neuroscience, as well as genetics, have now given students of human evolution some new working hypotheses about how the brain reorganizes itself in the wake of this new capacity for complex speech. And of course, the neuroscientists tell us that the brain is not only bilaterally symmetrical with two halves that are connected only by a very small part of the brain called the corpus callosum, but that the left part of the brain and the right part of the brain actually function very differently. The right brain is, in computer terms, a parallel processor that gives us the capacity to be in the moment and to accept the sensory inputs from all our ways of perceiving the world and collect just an incredible mass of information in real time. Whereas the left half of the brain is a serial processor and plots toward the future and remembers the past and processes serially, sequentially. And the way that we balance those two ways of being in the world have profoundly shaped the way we communicate with one another. Now, the next event in the history of communication that looms large in this 10,000-foot overview is the first appearance of symbolic written or drawn forms of communication through symbols. And the so-called cultural evolution 40,000 years ago was an event that marked an explosion of cultural artifacts that are found throughout Eurasia, also in Africa, where culture really began to flourish. Now, After that fact, the ice ages reshaped the Eurasian landmass and forced retreats and then migrations again. And the first use of abstract symbols to convey meaning in combination was roughly 6,000–7,000 years ago, and some historians have associated that with the complex efforts to enrich the development of agriculture in the Nile Delta and in the Tigris and Euphrates deltas. And the first cities appeared in that era. And as the technologies of symbolic communication, both the instruments that were used to write and draw and the media themselves, from stone to papyrus to paper, continued to evolve, the next major event was the emergence of a phonetic alphabet. And some historians of culture have worked with neuroscientists to explore the very interesting ways in which the brain once again adapted to the use of these abstract symbols.